With the 2023 Major League Baseball season literally around the corner, we want to welcome back in Steve Buchanan. He's an MLB analyst for DraftKings to the Morning Jolt. Steve, how are you?
Doing great, man. Just glad baseball is right around the corner. As you said, this is the best time of year. People say Super Bowl, everything. No. This is the Super Bowl right here, baby.
Let's get to it. Mets, Yankees. Yankees off to a decent start in spring training, but they got some bad medical news. Rodon is out now. Canely is out. We knew about Montas. Lou Trevino is out. That's a lot of injuries going into opening day.
Yeah, and that was kind of the fear too. And let's kind of focus on Rodon here because that was one of the big acquisitions that they made during this off season. And, with Rodon, who was with the Giants last year, he kind of did like a prove it deal, right? Because he always was kind of injured. The talent was always there, but it was, can he stay on the field healthy? And that's exactly what he did with the Giants, opted out of that deal, went to free agency, and then got that big contract that he was hunting for. Now, before, first pitch even happens, we're already talking about him going on the IL with a forearm strain, which is not exactly things you want to hear. That's not an injury you want to hear to that happen. That being said, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Cashman said in a perfect world that he'd be back by April. So there is some thought that he could come back in return, but it's just going to be kind of really touch and go with him there because they definitely want to be careful and protect, one of their biggest acquisitions in this offseason. That being said, when he's healthy, he is one of the best pitchers in Major League Baseball. And when Garrett Cole is on, and then you have Rodon on, that is a stellar 1-2 punch in that Yankees rotation. And something I feel like they've really kind of needed over the past few years. You have your frontline starter, but where does it kind of go after that? That really wasn't something that they had. So with him, that's really what they're hoping for. And if Rodon can be healthy, that is what they're going to get.
One of the big buzz around here in New Jersey is this kid, Anthony Volpe, who is from here in New Jersey. He is having a really, really nice spring. He's only got about 22 games, I think, of AAA experience.
Yep.
Do you see him coming north with the club in a couple of weeks?
I think he should too. And one of the things is that when you talk about the new rules that Major League Baseball has implemented for this year, the bigger bases is one of them there that kind of encourages steals and running on the base pass. He does that very, very well. He's got so much speed, and this is why he's one of their top prospects there. I mean, 50 stolen bases in 132 games between AA and AAA last year. Obviously Oswald Peraza's in the mix here too as well, another stellar prospect that they have, but he has been the guy who's really been getting a lot of buzz during this spring training here. It's just how is he going to react because he really hasn't been at those high levels like you just mentioned. He's really primarily been in single A and AA, but you know what, with some of these guys, like in Wander Franco's a good example with the Tampa Bay Rays. Sometimes these guys are just so talented that they come up here and they just instantly produce. Julio Rodriguez is another example with the Seattle Mariners. With what they have at shortstop right now, which is not much of anything, was kind of for Leffa, just let the kids play, go out there. They have so much depth and power and hitters in that lineup that you can get away with if he struggles initially, or, you don't need him to be a top bat in the lineup. You don't need him to be a top of the lineup guy. You need him to be able to do well defensively and provide what he can near the bottom of that lineup. So I think you should bring him up, let him be the starting shortstop. If it doesn't go well, you got backups. But I think with what we've seen from spring training so far, I think he's ready.
Let's go from Tampa to Port St. Lucie. What are your thoughts so far on the Mets spring training, Steve?
I mean, look, I don't take a lot of stock into spring training, especially, and this one is so different too, right? Like all the new rules that these hitters and pitchers have to get used to. Max Scherzer, like really getting acclimated to these rules and just throwing hitters off. Like if there's anybody who's in benefiting from the rules so far, it's been Max Scherzer with like the mind games that he's playing. But the Mets had one of the most stellar off seasons, I think, that I can remember in years past, like handing out, what was it, $500 million to like 8 or 9 guys. It's incredible. This team that they've built up, the 1-2 punch that they have with Verlander and Scherzer. And then, who knows what we're going to get from Senga, the number 3 starter there, who has that ghost fork that we keep hearing about that looks like a fastball and then drops off like nothing you've ever seen. So I don't take a lot of stock into it, but I think this team is just going to be an absolute force. You knew that when they made that early exit in the playoffs, that Uncle Steve was going to do something drastic in this offseason. And boy, did he ever. Is that wallet is never ending, it feels like. So, the spring training has been fine so far. I don't like, the Red Sox are undefeated as we're doing this in spring training right now. That's not going to happen in the regular season. Okay.
No, it's not.
So it's very easy to just kind of, dismiss this, especially this spring training with all the new rules being implemented. But this team on paper is built to go deep into the playoffs. And I think that's what you're going to see this year.
You've mentioned new rules a couple of times. The one I really, really, really like is the pitch clock. I think it is going to be a huge factor. And again, spring training games are naturally going to be a little shorter because the commercial breaks aren't as long. That's a big factor here. But if you're looking at a game, Steve, I've noticed where you can't see the clock. You don't think about it.
Exactly.
But what you do notice is there's a quicker pace. And it's not necessarily the length of a game that bothered me. It was, for crying out loud, let's just get in the box and throw the ball.
Of course. And this is the example I keep using. One of my favorite movies is The Wolf of Wall Street with Leonardo DiCaprio. That has a runtime of about over 3 hours. I don't want to watch that movie every single night. And that's what baseball games were. It was 3+ hours. But I saw a clip last week, and forgive me, I don't remember what the game was, but from start to finish, it was a 3-pitch strikeout. It was done in 19 seconds. Like, that is unbelievable to think that there was a strikeout, 3 pitches done in 19 seconds. That is incredible. That's the kind of pace that we want. In a world where attention spans are at its lowest, Major League Baseball needed to make a change. This has been talked about for years. They tried it out in the minor leagues. They liked what they saw because they brought it up to the majors, and it's making a major difference in the runtime. Now, is it going to be like this during the regular season? We will see, because like you mentioned, the commercials come into factor too as well. But truly, if I can watch a game and it's done in 2 hours and 45 minutes or so, that's perfect. I think that's a perfect amount of time for this sport, and I think it's going to attract a lot of people as well.
We've got the World Baseball Classic going on, and Mark DeRosa, another Jersey guy, is the manager of Team USA. Your thoughts on that?
So happy for him too. I've gotten to know Mark DeRosa through my years with MLB Network. He is such a great guy on and off the air, and I was so incredibly thrilled for him to be able to get this opportunity, because I've seen it online too. He's got a great baseball mind.
Yes, he does.
And while he is great on MLB Network, he could be great on the bench for Team 2 as well. And I know he's been a little bit hesitant about that, because that's a major commitment. Okay. Like, that's not like, you go and do the game, you go home, and then you sleep it off. That is a 24/7 commitment. So maybe this is his, way of kind of getting his feet wet, seeing how he likes it. But I just saw the lineup for yesterday's game that he was making, and just having to write out that lineup when you've got so many studs on the American team. Like, there's a lot of great teams out there, the Dominican Republic and stuff like that. There's a lot of great teams out there, but the American team is stacked too as well. So that must be such a thrill for him. But like, personally, I was so happy for him. He was so humbled to be named the manager, and I just love that he's getting this type of opportunity.
You can follow Steve Buchanan on Twitter at SB24, the number 24, SB24. Stevie Bukes from the MLB Network as well. Always a pleasure to have you on.
Anytime, Jim. Thanks for having me on.